Hello there, you're listening to Ebird Online, and it's my final review of the week for Before the 90 Days. And this is Series 3, Episode 10, Treat Me Right. And today I'm going to be speaking about Angela and Michael, and Rebecca and Zied. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm really excited to get my 10k subscribers. So please just click that red button and don't forget to like the video. And first today we're going to talk about Angela and Michael. So you may remember last week Angela and Michael were talking about potentially having a baby, and they took a trip to the fertility clinic. And unfortunately for Angela, during that visit she discovered she only had one remaining egg, and thus very little chance of conceiving naturally. So Angela and Michael have decided to speak to Skylar, Angela's daughter, to convince her to donate an egg for Angela and Michael to raise. Although Skylar had previously expressed concerns about giving an egg, and those concerns were no goddamn way in hell, Angela still thinks it's a good idea to ask her. But who should ask, I hear you say? Should it be Angela? Should it be Michael? It's a shame Michael's friends weren't around because they would have been the ideal candidates, but we had to make do with Michael. He asked her 3 times before she understood, but as soon as she did understand, she said, "Oh my god, y'all don't need no babies. What are you thinking about? I would never, ever give you one of my eggs. No way in hell." And she said, "What do you need a baby for?" And Angela said, "It's very important to me and it's important to Michael." And then Angela said something really weird. She said, "I'd pay you for the egg." Angela, I think you're missing the point. She doesn't want a sex tourist and a degenerate bringing up her child. That's her point. Money doesn't come into it. But of course Angela started arguing with her, and she said, "If I give you $1 million, you'd give me all of your eggs." And looking at Skylar, maybe she's got a point. But of course Angela doesn't have $1 million, so it's a moot point. Michael explains to Skylar that it's very important for him to carry on his bloodline. Is it? Let's survey the facts, shall we? Michael lives with his mum. Michael has allowed Angela to get rid of all of his friends. Michael doesn't work as he's given up his job so he can talk all day on the phone to Angela. Michael has no right of abode in the US where the baby would be raised. And Michael is with a woman old enough to know Abraham Lincoln personally. And when I survey all these facts, I actually think it's just as vitally important that he does not carry on his bloodline. I think Michael's genetics should end with Michael. And Skylar? Well, Skylar should be awarded a Public Service Commendation Medal for outstanding services to the American public. And she explained to her mum that it would be like giving up her baby, and that's why she wouldn't give them an egg. Angela argued with her for a while, but then I was watching Michael and I could see he was nodding in agreement with Skylar. But Angela said they'll have a baby anyway. I certainly hope not. And Angela tried to explain to Skylar that it wouldn't be her baby at all. It would be Angela's baby, because it would have Angela's blood. Angela, did you finish primary school? The only blood that will be in that baby is Skylar's and Michael's. And Skylar said, "It doesn't matter who carries the baby, it's still my baby and I would still consider it to be my baby." And for what it's worth, I think if they are going to have a baby, they should probably get an egg from someone who 1, doesn't know Michael, 2, doesn't know Angela, 3, has no knowledge of their toxic relationship, and 4, is poor enough to be permanently unable to take Angela and Michael to court to regain custody of the baby. That's who they need to find. But Angela tells Skylar, "We're going to have a baby anyway." I really hope not. And then we next catch up with Angela and Michael, and Angela's moaning. She's saying she's had a really hard couple of days. First off, she was told she only had 1 egg left, and then Skylar said no to her egg donation plan. So now, suddenly, she feels really uneasy about her and Michael's future. Angela, nothing has happened in the last 2 days that you didn't already know 3 years ago. Did you honestly think that you might possibly have any live eggs left? Because I certainly didn't, and in fact, I don't even know if I really believe that you have 1 egg. And also you knew very well that Skylar was not going to give you an egg, especially considering the state of your relationship with Michael. So nothing has changed, nothing at all. But anyway, she's got other things on her mind now because she's off with Michael to meet up with Michael's friends. Or should we say ex-friends? No, we won't say ex-friends, because I know very well when Angela's not in the country, Michael sees them morning, noon and night. And Angela decides to hold a seance with 3 of Michael's friends. And Angela doesn't like these friends, she calls them the goofballs. Which really, coming from Angela, given her language and given the way that she is, and given her turn of phrase, goofballs is virtually a compliment. TLC to the rescue. Yep, they help us out by showing us old VT of the goofballs calling Angela a grandma and guffawing and laughing at the fact that she's 20 years older than Michael. And they also go back to the tell-all of last season when Michael called Angela his elder. Angela swore at him and stormed off set. Lest we forget, TLC are there to jog our memories. Angela explains that she doesn't like the goofballs because they've always got Michael's back and they're only looking out for him and never her. Angela, they're his friends. People only look out for you when you're nice to them. People only look out for you if they think that you are the right person for their friend. They do not think that your relationship is viable or reasonable. That's why they look out for Michael and not you. Michael lies again and he tells us that he doesn't hang out with his friends much anymore and he really misses them. And Angela missed his lie being uncovered because she was so busy being angry at the goofballs. But one of the goofballs said, "Oh, you're here, you're in town. No wonder I haven't seen you around much, Michael." Well, Michael, if you don't see them anyway, how would they know any different? But Angela's got something new to be angry about. So Angela tells a tale of when she was almost hospitalised with pneumonia. She was in America and Michael was in Nigeria. He was getting ready to go out with his friends and Angela begged Michael not to go because she was so ill she wanted somebody to talk to on the phone. His friends were encouraging him to go and apparently they were laughing in the background, and Angela tells Michael she wants to let them know how they made her feel. And when the goofballs arrived, there was a new goofball, one she didn't know, and he asked what's the problem, and she said he knows why I don't like him and he knows why I don't like him, pointing to the other two goofballs. And then one of them said, "My fiance would never talk to me like this. You're way too possessive and bossy." Angela started shouting and she pointed a pudgy claw into his face and then she swilled him with her drink. The conversation went left very, very quickly, and after she'd swilled the drink over one of them, two of the goofballs got up and left. They said, "Well, there's no point talking because you're just shouting and screaming and we're never ever going to get anywhere." And Angela said, "Michael, look how they're acting whilst I'm raising my voice." Angela, who the hell do you think you are to raise your voice to anyone? These are adults, these are not children, these are 30, 35-year-old men. You seem to think that you can talk to them as if they're your grandkids. I just don't know who it is you think you are. Michael implored her to calm down, but she wouldn't. And the last goofball tried to talk to her, but alas, it was in vain. He said, "We went out, we did nothing wrong." And she just talked over the top of him and said, "Have you got a girlfriend?" And he said yes. And she went, "Well, go and hang out with your girlfriend and leave my Michael alone." And at this point, the last remaining goofball rolled out, and Angela sat back with a self-satisfied grin on her face and sipped from a cocktail almost as garish as she is. Michael tells the VT he's embarrassed at the way she acted and he wishes she wouldn't yell and scream and is not sure if he can cope with this for the rest of his life. In fact, he's not, and thinking about it, I think he can probably cope with it for about 4 years. Just long enough for the green card to drop. And although Angela's an uber control freak, she doesn't seem to be able to do so with her temper. So that's everything for Angela and Michael. I predict Michael will never be in the US. I predict they'll never have a child. And I predict that TLC will soon tire of Angela. It seems like she's running out of material. Next up, Rebecca and Zied. And as we catch up with Rebecca and Zied, she's still ball aching on about this $200. It's really getting boring now. Come on, Rebecca, it's only $200. I think you're angry with yourself because now you know that we know that your man is trifling, and that's the problem. And I think you always knew you were buying him. But then she says she's had some time to consider the incident and she's drawn the conclusion that Zied is in this relationship for the right reasons. She fails to state what any of those reasons are. She also fails to state how and why she drew that conclusion. And Ebird's got a feeling it's that Scooby-Doo logic kicking in again. And as she's talking, I really can't help but think Rebecca is indescribably tragic. She's the most mentally deficient and deluded person on before the 90 days. And then she tells us Zied's taking her on holiday. No doubt, Rebecca, with your own money. And they're driving in the car hired by Rebecca, driven by Rebecca, and they go into the Sahara desert. As they're driving along, Zied said, "Do you know where we are?" Tunisia. And he said, "Do you know what this is called?" "Go on, Zied, I can see you're dying to say." "Las Vegas." "What?" "Las Vegas." He's trying to say Las Vegas. And then he gives a gigantic fake laugh, pretty much the same as the one he gave when he threw rubbish out of the window. And as they walk over to their holiday home, we can see it's a holiday Zied style. It's in a bloody tent. As you can probably imagine, Ebird's not a camper, and if I have to be a camper for any reason, then I'm definitely not a happy camper. If anyone tries to force me into a tent, it's my express intention to make everybody's magical experience just a little less bloody magical. So I really can't help but feel sorry for Rebecca at this point, but strangely enough she seems excited. And as Rebecca and Zied walk across the desert towards their tent, I can't help but think that Zied really is a mess for a 26-year-old. He's got the body of a 45-year-old. Rebecca pops out to go and get a cup of tea, a woman after my own heart. And Zied explains to us that he is so much nervous, as he's planning a surprise for Rebecca. Right, so I've been trying to say this without laughing for about the last 10 minutes without success. I mean, now I don't even know why I find it that funny because it's uniquely reprehensible. Words actually fail me. Well, they don't fail me. The words I want to use would repel most decent thinking people. But what's making me laugh is that Zied said he's excited because he wanted to buy something expensive for Rebecca. Yes, that's right, you guessed it. It's the ring that he bought with Rebecca's own money. 2 things, Zied. 1, you didn't buy it. You haven't bought her anything. 2, you're right to say it's expensive because if she accepts your hand in marriage, you're going to want a ticket to America. You're going to be living for free in her home. She'll no doubt have to sponsor you and she'll need to feed you, which I'm sure we can all agree is no mean feat for a guy of your size. Although perhaps we can get you in on the steak and all-you-can-eat shrimp offer for $24.95. I suppose management, as soon as you walked in the place, would think, God, here's a lost leader walking through the door. But the reason this whole thing made me laugh was that he's so proud of himself. And it's singularly the most trifling thing I think I've ever heard of. And honestly, in my time, I've heard of some bad things, but this is the worst. He hides his cheap ring and explains to us that in order to get to America and live with Rebecca, he has to make her love him more than she does now. How romantic. And he further adds that he hopes she accepts him as this is his dream. Yes, really, it's his dream to go to America. If Rebecca takes him to America, she's an even bigger idiot than I thought. And that's barely possible. Rebecca guaranteed the moment you get to America, it's only a matter of time till we see Zied on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. Luckily for me, I'm in London, so it'll be you guys he's hollering at. But honestly, he really is trifling. And just when I thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, we have Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And there seems to have been some sort of discourse between Rebecca and Zied off camera. According to Rebecca, she was scrolling through her phone and Zied caught sight of a photo he thought he didn't like. He demanded that she hand him the phone and then he discovered the photo was of her, I was going to say ex-husband, but in fact her husband. And Rebecca's super upset because she says this proves that he doesn't trust her. And Rebecca says Zied's jealousy has come out of nowhere. Rebecca, it has not come out of nowhere, it has come out of Zied. He said on your very first outing that he's very controlling and very jealous. You said that's a red flag. Not enough of a red flag because you've ignored it the whole holiday. And Rebecca, there's more jealousy and controlling behaviour to come. So basically Rebecca's convinced herself that Zied's angry because he doesn't trust her. But I think that he's angry because he feels humiliated and I think he feels a bit disrespected that she's obviously laying in bed with him or hanging out with him and flicking past pictures of her loved up with other guys. And Rebecca says that she doesn't want to delete the photos because that would mean she'd have to look at them. Oh Rebecca, pull the other one. You could have very easily transferred them off your phone. I think if I was in that situation, that's what I would expect, that you just transfer them to your computer so I don't necessarily have to come across them or whatever. But I think if you were married to someone for 5 years, it's not that surprising that we're going to have a few photos and so on. So half of this argument was from inside the tent, but then when they come outside of the tent where the cameras are, Zied said, all I did was ask you to delete the photo. Zied, stop trying to play for the cameras. I can tell by the look on Rebecca's face and how fuming she is, it was more than just saying delete the photo. And Zied himself even says he's very jealous and controlling, and quite often he reacts very badly to things. So really we're not sure what happened inside the tent, but I've got a feeling it got physical. I don't know, something just tells me that it did. Rebecca seems somewhat shaken, and later on when Zied went over to her and I thought he was going to comfort her, he basically gripped his hand around the back of her neck and pulled her in towards him, and she tried to kind of get away, but he basically held her in a hand lock and held her head close to his. It was very controlling, it was very scary, and if I were Rebecca, I would honestly watch my back with Zied because I have a feeling that when he flips, he flips. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about Zied and I was just pondering over where does he get his money from. Obviously he lives with his parents, but aside from the priceless antiques in their house, they're not obviously worth anything. His sister doesn't seem massively rich, and so I was thinking, where do you get your money from? I don't believe he works in a coffee shop. I don't believe he works getting audiences for TV. So I was sort of working on the theory that he was possibly on the criminal spectrum. Doing what, I don't know, but I just kind of think he has a criminal way about him. And the main reason I didn't put that video out was because I had no evidence, and I was fairly dissuaded from thinking that he was was hard because the guy in the bar that was staring at Rebecca's tattoos I thought was hella disrespectful, and Zied did more or less nothing. And so I kind of thought, can he even really handle himself? Who knows? But looking back on it, I see he was playing the smart game. I think he's got a despicable temper. I think he can absolutely blow up. And I think when he was in that bar, he wanted to make a good impression because he really wanted to go to America, so he held it down as much as he could. And he had that little pipsqueak saying, "I'll look as I please," and he did nothing. And that must have absolutely killed him. But I'm back to my original thought. I've got a feeling that he's some sort of crim. And I think he's desperate to get to America because, as we all know, it's the land of opportunities. And with someone like Zied, it wouldn't surprise me if that opportunity is the opportunity to put your hand on somebody else's property. Guys, let me know what you think. I've got a very, very bad feeling about Zied now. Tom, he's just a fantasist. Micheal, Cut's quite a pathetic figure. Tim thinks he can buy his way into anything. Benjamin pretty much wants a housekeeper. Omar, I think he just genuinely wants a green card. I think still waters run deep with Omar, but I don't consider that he's actually dangerous. I think he'll just break Ashley's heart. And Caesar, well, he's just a dimwit. Out of everybody in this series, Zied is the only one that I would actually say I'm worried about. He's an unknown quantity, and I would be very interested to know from where he derives his income stream. Maybe time will tell. So guys, let me know what you think. Do we think that Zied laid hands on Rebecca? Do we think he's possibly on the criminal spectrum? Rebecca knows exactly what Zied is, and she's desperate enough to just go along with it anyway. That's everything from me today. I'll see you soon with either another review or another special. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and don't forget to like the video. Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.